welcome all to this inauguration ceremony of Young Communicators Club at Amrita School of Arts and Science local chapter. I invite Mr. Sudars Sudhagaran, our second semester student of the PG course, communication student, to lead us through this event as the master of this ceremony. Sudars, please.
Namashivaya. Beginnings can be small steps, but its impact can be experienced in great giant leaps. Today, we are making a new beginning by lighting the lamp along with the prayer.
Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Asato ma Satgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sarvesham Swasthir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Good morning, everyone. Let's invite Sri Ramsi Menon, Chairman, Public Relations Council of India, who is a postgraduate in marketing management and marketing communication with professional exposure to advertising as well as sales and marketing. He is the co-founder of Kerala's first professional event management and wedding planning company, Impresario, in 1995, and he also co-founded Impress PR in 2010. He contributes to various educational institutions in academics and curriculum development, especially in the areas of management and mass communication. We invite you, sir, for the welcome address.
Good morning, all. What a great way to start a momentous day and a very beautiful morning. And without any delay, I would like to get into my duty of welcoming. We start with a formal because I think we'll get into informal after some time. So, Sri MP Jairam, Dr. Vinay Kumar, Chinmayi Praveen, Dr. U. Krishna Kumar, Gayatri Sharma, our keynote speaker today, then Dr. Dinesh Babu, Mr. Kuti, who is the Secretary General of PRCI, and Mr. Hari Krishnan, followed by our faculty coordinator of Amrita School of Science, Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, YCC Center, Rekha. Today is a very happy occasion for PRCI as well as the YCC movement. This is the third chapter of YCC in Kerala. And it's the best place, I would say, the seat of knowledge, Amrita University, Amrita Vishwavidyapith. And the chapter is actually being initiated by Amrita School of Arts and Sciences. And it's a very happy occasion, and I'm personally very happy to welcome all our dignitaries today. To start with, the heart and soul of PRCI and YCC, the one who motivates all of us with his morning enriching and exciting messages. Who else this can be? He is the founder and chairman emeritus, as well as the chief mentor of Public Relations Council of India, the largest fraternity of public relations and communication professionals in the country. Sri MP Jairam. Sir, it's an honor for all of us to have you here, and a warm welcome to you, sir. Jairamji, thank you. And next in the row, someone who gives a lot of opportunity right from my career, in the start of my career, rather. And who always finds the potential in me and encourages and motivates me right from my early 20s. And he still continues that. And he is actually the fuel and probably I would say oxygen. I mean, the word I think probably currently in vogue. Our national president, Dr. Vinay Kumar, the one and only Malayali or from Kerala who became a national president of Public Relations Council of India. Vinay Kumar, hearty welcome to you. Who always motivated, who always encouraged me. Whenever I approach him with any initiative, he so far for the last 15 years and all, he never said no. And a very pious person, a very learned person, even 5 minutes of conversation with him is so enriching. And it is my pleasure to welcome Dr. U. Krishna Kumar, the director of Amrita School of Arts and Science. Sir, I extend you a warm welcome. And our Chinmayi Praveen, who is actually the fuel of Young Communicators Club on a national level. She is the national chairperson for YCC. And Chinmayi actually is the motivating factor for all of us, not only for the YCC members, but for the PRCI members also. I take the opportunity to welcome Chinmayi Praveen to this inaugural function. And we have a very important person today, someone who has been an international personality, who is renowned and reputed name in industry in the whole world. And she's here today to enrich us with her keynote address. A warm welcome to Gayatri Sharma. Gayatri, most welcome. And we are also here some more dignitaries from PRCI. It is my pleasure to welcome Mr. U.S. Kuti, the Secretary General of Education Council of India. In fact, I take this opportunity also to thank Mr. Kuti, who has been a major encouraging and motivating factor for me. And today also, in fact, she is the one who connected me to Gayatri Sharma. Thank you. And we also have G.B. Sadashivan, who is the Secretary of Kerala PRCI, who is actually a support to the PRCI movement in Kerala. And so we have the faculty and teaching side from Amrita School of Arts and Sciences. We have Dr. Amrita, who is actually the head of the department of Amrita, and he is also here. I extend a warm welcome to you, sir. And Hari Krishnan, always ready with any information at any point of time, whether it's early morning or late in the night. Hari is ready. When I call him or message him, gets an instant reply. And a very simple and very soft-spoken person. Hari, he's actually the assistant professor and the vice chairperson also in the Amrita School of Arts and Science. Hari, I welcome you to this inaugural function, as well as now Rekha, who is faculty coordinator of the at Amrita School of Arts and Sciences. I extend a welcome to Rekha to this session. And we are here the audience actually. The audience actually primarily the students and faculty members of Amrita School of Arts and Sciences Kochi Campus, as well as all Amrita campuses across the country. And I welcome all of you to this function. And I take this opportunity to welcome the two faculty coordinators of our existing YCs. One is SH Kochi Devra and other is St. I welcome Ms. Kijo as well as Mr. Sujit, and also the office bearers of two YCs, SH Kochi Devra as well as St. College. And also I welcome Shanti ma'am, the HOD of SH Kochi Devra, and Ms. Soumya John, the HOD of St. College. And if I've ever missed one during my welcome address, I take this opportunity to welcome all of you. And now let's start our annual function. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sri M.D. Jairam is the Chairman Emeritus and Chief Mentor, National Governing Council, PRCI, and the PR Advisor of NTPC. As a veteran of public relations, he has served as the Director of Corporate Communication of Karnataka Power Corporation. He was also the press advisor of S.M. Krishna, the then CM of Karnataka. Sir, we cordially invite you to officially inaugurate the YCC chapter.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning,
I'm delighted to see more than 166 people in this program. I'm really happy and overwhelmed by seeing all of you. Dear Vinay, the President, National Executive Public Relations Council of India, our Vice President, Mr. Ravindran, and our Secretary General, Mr. Kuti Saab, Sadashivam, and Menon, Hari Krishnan, and Krishna Kumar, the director, and your today's special guest, Gayatri Sharma, who is the head of communication, Rolls-Royce. All of you, my greetings from Public Relations Council of India and Young Communicators Council. Unfortunately, today our YCC head is not here. You know, this pandemic has done a very bad thing. Her father-in-law died early in the morning today, so she has sent her wishes to all students today, and she conveyed her best wishes to the new chapter which is going to be inaugurated now. This is very sad, but we'll have to go along with that. We can't help it. Bangalore is one. Every day we see a lot of 30,000+ cases happening every day. So we are all scared about this spreading of this COVID viral. Anyway, let me come to the point. I'm very happy to inaugurate this new Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham Art and Science College, Kochi Campus chapter. And I wish all the best to the students who are going to join YCC and their future activities. Dear friends, youth development does not happen in isolation because youth development and education are inextricably connected. I always believe that the young people's success has to become more inclusive. Only then can the youth fulfill individual goals and have the competence to influence the world around them. This brings among you deserve learning experiences and competences to make good future choices for your lives as engaged citizen in the world. As I see, the youth are continuously developing and learning. I wish you benefit from access to wide-ranging learning opportunities and an array of supports, including strong, authentic relationship with both peers and adults. You deserve a holistic approach to learning, develop, and communication, one that helps prepare each one of you to succeed in college, career, and life. And for that, let us take collective responsibility to nurture your learning spaces so that you feel safe to learn and experience as you develop. I strongly believe that the most important people in my life, the youth, deserve the best communication. I'm sure that you will learn it from Young Communicators Club and who are running this and helping you towards that. This is how YCC and their magazine Kautilya were born. So take care of your communication, because the ways we communicate and the ways that we don't shape our relationship, and our relationship shape our lives. This is what I wanted to tell all my young students. You join YCC, you learn a lot. There are a lot of people like Avinash and Chinmay and so many other people. They will help you, and whatever you want to know, any problems, you kindly contact them. They will help you out through YCC. Attempting to talk about the future of communication education in our field is pretty tough task. I have had a good fortune of working on a number of education initiatives at the university level and national level. As I ponder over the future of public relation education, uh, three thoughts come into my mind, which I read recently. Fast forward thinking, interdisciplinary learning, and analytical prowess. We must ensure public relations students are sufficiently prepared to get on that leadership path. The path is one of the interdisciplinary learning that includes business, economics, political science, sociology, and organizational behavior. Nevertheless, fast forward thinking means presenting students with concepts and scenarios that they may not face for years down the road. Students have repeatedly reported how this method of thinking ahead has helped them in the early stages of their career and demonstrates to their bosses an impressive way of thinking beyond their years. Analytical prowess is the third component of my thinking about the future of public relation education. Data gathering and analysis are certainly part of this skill. An analytical mindset goes beyond crunching numbers. However, it involves teaching students the synthesis and present information in a way that it relevant and accurate. A good place to start is requiring students to draw information from different courses, opinion leaders, and new sources to complete an assignment. As educators, we need to keep learning and networking. To prepare our students also to lead, let's teach them what we know and partner with others to provide the content and experience they need to fill in the rest. That is how our YCC is born. All the best, and the leaders and YCC heads of your college, I say good luck to them, and all the students, best of luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jairam sir. Now, I'll invite Dr. T. Vinay Kumar, National President, Public Relations Council of India, who is also the first Malayali to become one. He is also the Director of World Communicators Council and Vice President and Director, PRCI YCC Governing Council. He has 4 decades of experience in PR and advertising. He also holds several posts including the co-founder and senior partner guide PR and branding, and founder, secretary and trustee Pepper Creative Awards Trust. Sir, we invite you to deliver the National President's Address.
Good morning, everyone. This is a great opportunity for Public Relations Council of India to have its 3rd chapter of YCC in Kochi. As you all know, the Young Communicators Club, the YCC, is the youth and student wing of Public Relations Council of India, which has 38 chapters pan-India. Our 3rd chapter is going to be launched soon in Bellary. We are having a lot of activities throughout the year, and some of them are actually the Daughters' Day celebrations, which is done on July 1st to commemorate the memory of Kalpana Chawla, the first US-born Indian astronaut. We honor the students, the daughters of all our chapters on that day. That is, we are celebrating it in a big way in all the chapters. The second major important function we celebrate is the World Communicators Day. That falls on October 28th. So these are the 2 main functions we are having. And our global communication conclave that is happening on, normally it is happening in January, February, but this year due to the COVID, we have postponed it to September 17th and 18th. Lot of deliberations, discussions, panel discussions, speakers from all over the world will attend the global communication conclave. So that is an opportunity for the students also. We have special packages for the students. The students can also come and attend the conclave. This year, due to I told you, it's happening on September 17th and 18th. So I would like to make this opportunity to invite you all for the conclave. See, the Public Relations Council of India is having various departments or segments. The first and foremost is the internship and placement cell. Actually, the students of journalism and PR, they are not getting proper placements or internship. So to rectify that error or to support them, we have started this cell. This cell is also giving training to the students. Actually, we had conducted a 1-week training program. We are coming out with more programs, certificate, diploma, etc. in the future. Dr. D.K. Ravi, the registrar of Bangalore University, is heading that department. We have another department, a publication division. This division is bringing out books and publications for the student fraternity in journalism, PR, and communication. S. Narendra, the former advisor of 3 prime ministers, he is in charge. He is in Delhi. He is taking care of this particular department. We also have an expert pool. The experts pool is comprising of experts from various fields who can be available for universities and colleges whenever they need. This department is headed by Professor Dr. Ashok Pandey of Bhubaneswar. He is the chapter chairman of Bhubaneswar chapter. Public Relations Council of India is also coming out with a directory of who is who in PR. Our Avinash Gawai, he is the vice president of YCC. He is he is in charge of that publication. Soon it will be launched. That will be the first of its kind in India. Public Relations Council of India, the youth wing, the YCC, is actually started by our chief mentor and chairman emeritus, M.B. Jairam, with a view to empower the students and the youth. The interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships are very important for any person. You take the case of a mother, she has to communicate with her children or daughter or son. An advocate, a doctor, everybody will have to have proper communication. Without proper communication, nobody can survive in this world. So this YCC will be a great help to the students of Amrita Institute. And I hope and pray that this will be a great start. I would like to acknowledge the presence and the support given by Dr. U. Krishnakumar, Director, Amrita School, Dr. S. Dinesh Babu, HOD, Department of Visual Media and Communication, D. Harikrishnan, Vice Chairman, and KP Radhika, Faculty Coordinator, and our own people, Sri M.B. Jairam, Sri Ram Menon, who is the pillar of our activities in Kerala. He is the chairman of PRCI and YCC, Kerala. Mr. G.B. Sadashivan, our secretary of Kerala chapter. Mr. Ravindran, our senior vice president. Mr. U.S. Kuti, our secretary general, and all other members of PRCI family who are attending this function. I also would like to wish the new office bearers of YCC, Amrita School, a very better future and a very great year ahead. Thank you. The pandemic will be over now. We all will have to meet and greet. There will be a lot of activities. There will be workshops, programs, conferences, etc. You can organize anything. We will all give you all supports. So I forgot to mention about our Gayatri Sharma. She definitely needs a mention because she is such a great person, and I think I don't want to stand in between her and the program. So I am wishing all of you all success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Dr. U. Krishnakumar, the Director of Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, Kochi. He's also the Dean, Faculty of Arts, Media and Commerce, Amrita Vishwavidya. Sir, I invite you to address this August gathering.
My humble prostration is at the lotus feet of our beloved Amma, humanitarian leader, spiritual guru and divine mother to millions of the followers, and all the more the Chancellor of the Amrita Vishwavidya University. And my hearty greetings to the Public Relations Council of India and all the top echelons of the PRCI and the Young Communicators Club. And it is extremely heartening to know that the Young Communicators Club has begun in this Kochi campus of the Amrita Vishwavidya also. Let me profusely thank Sri Ramsi Menon for having shown us a kind gesture of the initiation of this. My humble pranams and hearty condolences to the bereaved family of Chinmay Praveen. In her absence, I offer her my pranams. It is unfortunate that she could not be present here. Let us all join to pray for the departed soul. My humble pranams to the Chairman Emeritus and Chief Mentor of PRCI, Sri M.B. Jairam, and for his extremely motivating as well as informing remarks about the activities of PRCI in brief. My humble pranams to the National President of PRCA, Dr. T. Vinay Kumar. And all the more, it is gratifying to note that we are going to have the keynote address by the Head of Communications India and South Asia, Royce, representing the international community of the public relations professionals. Srimati Gayatri Sharma, my humble pranams to her. My humble pranams to Sri U.S. Kuti, the National Secretary General of PRCA, Sri G.B. Sadashivan, General Secretary of PRCA, Dr. Dinesh Babu, our own HOD in the Department of Visual Media and Communication, the faculty coordinator, Srimati Rekha, and another colleague, Sri Harikrishnan. They all have been working extremely well towards organizing this inaugural function. And we are all waiting for the keynote address from the international speaker. I can only tell you that the PRCA will be assisted in all ways. I assure you, especially as Dean of the Faculty of Media Arts and Commerce, in all your activities, we will be present and we will be able to support you, and we will make this chapter one of the most vibrant chapters of the PRCF. I also offer my humble pranams to the chapter heads and office bearers of the two other chapters in Kochi, the one in St. Teresa's College and one in Sacred Arts College, and all the students and all the faculty members. Though the Department of Visual Media, I entrusted them with taking the initial lead, all the departments will get involved in this process of supporting the activities of PRCA, and we are extremely glad to be a part and parcel of such a global organization, and public relations is the backbone of everything, and especially being a research guide, guiding in the areas of media, computer science, which is my main domain, and the corporate social responsibility, and also from the spiritual angle, from the spiritual domains also. I am still guiding PhD scholars, and I am doing a lot of work in the interdisciplinary areas. All these interdisciplinary areas exist because of one domain, the interpersonal, as Shri Vinay Kumar pointed out, and rightly pointed out by Shri Jairam. All the interdisciplinary activities take place only because of the communication and public relations. How good you are establishing your rapport with the people around you, with the organizations around you, and globally, how do you make use of it? Let us all strike together to try our level best to get out of this pandemic period. It has become worse, and it should be our endeavor also to get out of it by spreading the message of the safety, the precautions, COVID, the protocols, everything. And during the last 15 months, I am very glad to tell you that we have taken all the precautions in this campus, and not even a single case of primary contraction of the COVID happened in our campus. It is all because we took all the precautions laid down by our own sister institution, Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences, which is close by, and its principal, Colonel Dr. Marwaha. He had laid down very strict protocols for us, and we strictly observed it. An extreme communication between. Here is where I understood the importance of public relations. I took into confidence the parents, the students, and all the stakeholders, the staff members and others. Every now and then, we quarantined those staff members whose premises have been affected with COVID, And we took all the precautions. Because of this, by God's grace, we were able to prevent the primary contraction from this campus over the last 15 months. So I think public relations plays an important role in spreading the message across to people on the protocols, obeying the protocols, adhering to the protocols. So let us all strive together. Whatever little service I could do from the Amrita Vishwavidyapitham University, I'll be at your service, and I assure you that. And thank you profusely, Sri Ramsi Menon, and all the office bearers of the PRCI for having given this opportunity to establish a Young Communicators Club here. I hope and pray that this chapter will motivate the upcoming youngsters into more of practicing the PR professionals, and I request every one of you to give them all the necessary motivation, mentorship, guidance, everything. And I wish them all the success. I wish the PRCA also all the success in all your endeavors. So with these words, let me close my remarks and once again thank all the office bearers of the PRCA, and especially Srimati Gayatri for having, Gayatri Sharma for having been present here in spite of her busy schedules. And my humble pranams to every one of you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Krishna Kubasa. Next, I welcome Ms. Gayatri Sharma. Our important guest here today is indeed an eminent personality. She has been appointed by Rolls-Royce as Head of Communications for their operations in India and South Asia. She is currently responsible for internal and external communications of the company and is based in Delhi. Ms. Sharma is a communications expert with nearly 2 decades of experience in leading crisis communication, corporate and brand PR, content strategy, digital and social media, and integrated communication campaigns. She joins Rolls-Royce from PepsiCo India, where she was responsible for corporate and brand reputation, as well as crisis communication. She has versatile experience in leadership roles across both corporates and PR agencies, working with a wide cross-section of industries including FMCG, auto, finance, retail, technology, aero, and defense. She was vice president at PR consultancy Weber Shadwick, where she led the corporate B2C vertical responsible for managing key client relationships. Her earliest stints include leadership roles with BBC and VLCC and Perfect Relations. We cordially invite you, ma'am, to deliver the keynote address. It is our pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It is indeed my honor and my privilege to be here with all of you today. I think sorry, I could hear a lot of echo. To start with, I would definitely like to appreciate how you started today's session with a prayer for peace for everyone. I think very much needed today. And indeed, I would like to thank PRCI and YCC, Mr. Jairam, Mr. Kuti, Mr. Ram, and all of the office bearers, and also, of course, the management and faculty of Amrita University and all the students. And I think this has been a learning experience for all of us as we're all moving into this virtual world today of talking to each other. I myself must say that I thoroughly enjoy personal interactions, and I do miss them a lot, I think, for the last 1.5 years. But this too shall pass, and we can all only pray that we all stay safe, and I hope that you are all keeping safe and well. So, I was asked to talk about the role of communication and PR campaigns in battling crisis situations. And I think, of course, today we all do find ourselves in a situation where crisis is top of mind for everybody. And I thought I'll start with an anecdote of a story of what had happened many years ago with one of the clients that I used to handle, which was an FMCG MNC. So this company had a huge factory in Ahmedabad, and where the products were all stored, there was a holding area, which was a huge like a warehouse kind of a setup. Now it was in the open, and very often they used to find that there was a lot of dirt that used to get accumulated because of pigeons coming into that holding area where they used to store all the products. So there was a vendor who reached out to the company and said, we can do a setup and give you a demo of a system for keeping out the pigeons. So basically, we will set up these nets, etc., and which will prevent the pigeons from coming into your holding area and dirtying that area. So they went ahead with that demonstration. They had not signed any contract with this company, but they were doing this demonstration. And they had a couple of people from the vendor side, technicians who were at the facility. They set up the whole thing. Now in the morning they found that two pigeons were dead in the net, and they had somehow been caught in that net, and two pigeons were found dead in the net. And suddenly this became news because one of the top national newspapers in India reached out to us and said, we heard that you have killed some pigeons in your factory in Ahmedabad. And we said, nothing of the sort has happened. And this is what happened. There was a demo, and there were two pigeons which unfortunately got caught in that net, and the vendor had set it up, and this is what happened. And the journalist said, actually I'm not so sure, because I believe that you've been there were a lot of pigeons that have been killed in this whole process. Next thing we know, there were some TV channels, there were some media people who landed up outside the factory, and there were cops who came. They arrested the two people who were the technicians from the vendor's side. And suddenly we thought, what is going on, and we tried to get all the facts in. All the media, the TV reporters who came in at the door of the factory, we spoke to every one of them. We said, you know what, this is what is happening. There were two pigeons which unfortunately got caught in that net and were found dead in the morning. And there was an NGO also who had come to the door of the factory, because they were animal activists. So they said this is not done, and there's cruelty to animals, etc., etc. So we tried to address that as well. We showed them exactly what had happened. So the good thing was, all the media who came to the factory door, they all left. Not a single one of them did the story. The NGO said, yes, we understand the whole thing now. They left. There was no more trouble from the NGO's side. Unfortunately, the one journalist from the national newspaper who was sitting in Delhi and reporting on the story in Ahmedabad refused to listen to the facts. He said, I know what you're saying. That's what the NGO is also saying. That's what the cops are saying. But I'm hearing differently. I believe that a lot of pigeons have been killed. So we said, look, we will give you a statement. We're telling you the truth, and these are the facts. And you can speak to the cops. You can speak to anyone on the ground. We're quite open and transparent about it. But the journalist was not ready to listen. He said, okay, let me do my own story. Let me figure out the facts, and I will do my own story. The next morning, front page of one of the most read publications in India read, XYZ company caught and killed 200 pigeons in their Ahmedabad factory. So you can imagine what we were going through despite all the efforts. And, like all crises, this too hit us on a weekend. We spent the entire weekend working on this crisis. And Monday morning, this was the headline which greeted us. Now, sadly, at that time, there was not much more you could do once the story had already appeared on the front page. We got a corrigendum, we spoke to the editor, we put our point of view forward. We got a corrigendum, but obviously, you never get a corrigendum in the same space in the front page of a newspaper. So the corrigendum is always, tucked into one of the inside pages. Now, let's cut to today's scenario. What if this had not happened 10 years ago? Today's scenario, I think the biggest challenge that we would have faced is what we face as technology shifts. I always go back to Warren Buffett's quote, which is one of my favorites. He said, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and just 5 minutes to ruin it. If you lose money for the firm by your bad decisions, I will be very understanding. But if you lose the reputation of the firm, I will be ruthless. This is what Warren Buffett said, and I think it holds true for all of us who are brand custodians, who work to build brand reputation in today's world. And I think the challenge that we would have faced if we were, at that point of time, I think given that all the local media understood our point of view, and we got away with one story in the press, which people forgot the next day, because today's news always ends up in tomorrow's dustbin. So thankfully it was, we got over that. But today the technology shifts are really changing the conversation. Information is spreading at the speed of light. Twitter today is your new Times of India. Nobody is reading the papers anymore. They don't wait for that. It's immediate, it's here, it's now. For your page 3 news and entertainment news and sports news, people are tuning into, again, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. That's all your source of information. And how fast that therefore means that information travels is what is defining how quickly your crisis could really spiral into something that you never expected. Add to that, in today's world, you have fake news also. You also have to deal with that. How do you deal with misinformation? Secondly, armchair activists. Like I said, there was a journalist sitting in Delhi on a chair and, writing out a story, and was very convinced that there is something to be done here about cruelty to animals by, MNCs. So armchair activists are the new reality for all of us. These are the kind of challenges that we are all dealing with. And that is why, my friends, I think communication becomes that much more important. When you look at fake news, when you look at all the information which is floating around across social media, because, the media today is also picking up free quotes from Twitter. They're just waiting to, study who's saying what on Twitter and just make news out of it. That's how a lot of political storms are being created. And a lot of this information creates that chaos. There's also regulatory challenges that we are dealing with. But when you deal with all of this plethora of information, when you're getting stuff on WhatsApp, even today in the COVID scenario, when you're getting so much of information on WhatsApp, people are telling you, oh, you shouldn't get vaccinated. Oh, if you wear a mask, there are worms in the mask. There's so many such stories which are going around. And what do? You turn to a credible source to verify that information. And that is where our role as communicators is coming in. We are the ones who are enabling also for our information and the correct information to be placed in earned media outlets, which is your credible news sources. You're also ensuring that the right kind of facts are out there. And that is the role that we play. Now, I would have also probably, before I move to the crisis part of it, I think let's look back at all the times when you actually want to reach out to media. Because end of the day, when you reach out to media for anything and everything, you can have different responses from them. So three occasions when you really need to reach out to media. One, when you want to showcase something or you want to inform the media about something. That could be a new product, it could be reports, it could be some trends, you could have an announcement to make, it could be some kind of community projects. You may want to talk about the impact on of some of the work that you're doing or new investments that your company is making. So those kind of occasions become occasions to showcase your brand, your company, and to inform the media. The second occasion is typically when you have to, when it is appropriate for you to comment. Now something topical is happening and you join that conversation because you may have the knowledge or experience which can help that conversation have a different point of view. Maybe you have the knowledge to contribute there in a meaningful way. That is the second time when you should reach out to media with an informed opinion, and the media also respects you. The last, of course, is the one where reacting is essential. And that is when you're stuck with controversies or any kind of crisis. It could be any sensitive issues, it could be a media criticism that you're responding to, it could be product issues, it could be a legal issue, it could be any kind of crisis, or when the media says that you're killing pigeons. So, any of these occasions make it important for you to react and make sure that your point of view is heard. So that, in a nutshell, is what we typically work with in terms of when we have to reach out to the media. Three things that I think as storytellers, we all need to keep in mind. Because end of the day, every time you reach out to the media, you're doing nothing but telling your story. So how to do that in a very, very effective way? For me, there's we tell our story through our earned media, we tell our story through our owned media, and through paid media also. Today communication is not isolated from using paid platforms either. So when you use a mix of that in terms of earned media, which is your traditional media, your online media outlets, you use visual content, you use written content. When you work with owned media channels, which includes your own company's website, it could be your social media handles, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and you're doing a lot more of visual storytelling on your owned media platforms. And the last is paid media, where you're using some partnerships, associations, where you're making announcements. Those are the times when you use paid partnerships to tell your story. But across the board, whichever platform you may be using, there are three things, according to me, to make sure that your storytelling is super effective. The first is your content. Content is king, and we all know that. So I always, whenever I'm even training spokespeople or leaders, I always tell them that focus on the content, the messaging of what you're going out with. How effectively are you articulating your message, and what is that message that you want to drive? If you don't draft your content well, end of the day, the key message that you want to deliver can get lost. Second thing is the context. Here I'll give the example of, say, a Harsha Bhogle or maybe a Devdutt Patnaik. If you've heard any of them talking, they don't just talk. I mean, Harsha doesn't only talk about cricket, right? He also gives speeches. He's a professional speaker in the business circuit. He talks to business leaders about strategy. And what he does is he uses examples from cricket and he contextualizes them to make it relevant for the business audience. Similarly, if you see a speech by a Devdutt Patnaik, he does context very well as well. So he will give you a story from one of the Puranas, or he may give you a story of Chanakya, and he will talk about how, Chanakya used strategy in a particular situation, and give that example to contextualize what his message is, which is to say that, this is how strategy was dealt with in those days. And therefore, we learn from Chanakya that these are the 3 steps. So, that's another way of storytelling. But at the same time, I think it is equally relevant for you and me when we're talking in the company's context, that you are able to make your content relevant to your audience. So understand who your audience is, what is it that is interesting them, and how can you make your message, your content really relatable to the audience. And the last, third point for me is the third C, which is clarity. If you're not clear, and if you're ambiguous in putting your messages out, your audience may lose the core of what you're trying to say. So always focus on the 3 C's, which is content, context, and clarity, to ensure that you're really effective in reaching your message to your audience. Now, in addition to that, I think today, we are all working to tell our story in the best possible manner. But like I said, when we come to a crisis, what is it that we really should do? We are always stuck thinking, what is the best approach? Because end of the day, when you're faced with a crisis, now there are 2 types. One is a crisis that you may have prepared for. We across organizations, you will find that every company has a risk management structure, and we map out the possible risks that we are facing on it could be a quarterly basis, it could be a half yearly basis, or an annual basis. There's always a constant risk assessment that every company is doing. So there are some types of crises that you're prepared for, and so for those, you would have set a protocol to say, this is how we will deal with crisis. This is the way that we will work if we are faced with situation 1, situation 2, situation 3. But the other kind of crisis is the one that you're hit with, and you suddenly have to think about, okay, what is my plan of action? Now, this is where I'm going to very quickly just talk about a few steps that we would want to, you would want to keep in mind when you're dealing with a crisis situation. And then I'll come to exactly how, what are the most important things when you're dealing with that crisis. The first and foremost, of course, is to stay calm. You are the communicators, you may be the management team, you may be the legal team, irrespective. The point is, stay calm when you're faced with a crisis. The whole organization looks up to that one core team to say, what are we doing? We are in a crisis. So the first thing that I always suggest is, you need a crisis team. That's the first thing you need to do. A crisis team should typically have, depending on the scale of the crisis, the CEO, the communicator, the legal team, your operations team. It could be your product and safety and security teams, as well as some subject matter experts, depending on what is the crisis. So for example, if the crisis is something to do with a factory, then you definitely need the factory manager there. You need the head of operations on that team. So first thing is, you form that team. And I'll tell you why. For communications, this is very important. When you are in crisis, what you find is the most important thing is information. And you cannot get information easily. So for that, you need all of these people to come together and work with us and help us get the right facts in place very quickly. And that brings me to my next point, which is, get the facts right. Now, why is it important to get your facts right? Because end of the day, you, in any crisis, you are battling a trust issue. You are battling an issue of what is the truth. And you want to get your point of view across. So it's most critical that you get the facts right. Now, have you done something wrong as an organization? Or have you just been caught in a situation where it wasn't the organization's fault, but certain circumstances have led to a particular incident? So what are the different sources of information you can get, and how quickly you work with them to ensure that all the facts are with you. That's very, very key, because it all boils back to the first C, which is content. You cannot build the content of your response unless you have all the facts. The second thing is, as communicators, we have to establish real-time monitoring. Why? Because at any given point of time today, your your one simple crisis story could escalate into a viral story that goes out of hand very, very quickly. So it's very important that you're monitoring what kind of news is coming out, what are people talking about, what are the conversations. And the moment you see that there is some kind of change in that conversation at any given point of time, you may start with one response, because your first thing that you do is fact correction. You will have a short term quick response, which will be to correct the facts and say, or if you don't have the facts and you're in a crisis, for example, I remember there was this BP oil spill that happened. Now, immediacy of response, even if you don't have all the facts, is very, very critical when you're dealing with something like that. Or even if there's, suppose, God forbid, a factory fire, the first thing that you need to do is ensure that you are giving some kind of a response immediately. Now, what is that response going to be? If you don't have the facts, you could be saying, we are monitoring the whole situation and we are working closely with all our teams to see what can we do and what has happened. The second option could be that you have the facts, you have a point of view, and you put that point of view across. But how quickly you respond today is very, very critical, given, as I said, that if you don't respond in time, the wrong story and the wrong facts could quickly escalate and everybody could be talking about the wrong story. So also, as you are handling the crisis, you will find that if you don't monitor that there's a change in the conversation that's happening, especially online today, if you're not monitoring what's happening in terms of a shift in that conversation, you cannot be very quick to respond to that change and to correct the facts further as you go along in managing a crisis. So monitoring becomes very, very important. The third thing is, of course, that you must create holding statements. And by that, I mean you need to have scenario-wise holding statements ready. Now, what I mean by that is also that you should be able to preempt as communicators. And I remember Mr. Jairam, I think, was talking about the fact that we all play so many different roles. We are pretty much jack of all trades. You need to be, when you talk to a CFO, you have to be able to understand the financial figures. When you're talking to an operations head, you have to be able to understand how the business works. When you're talking to a legal person, you have to be able to understand the laws of the land. And so all of these things, we may not be the master of all of these subjects, but definitely we do have to be jack of all trades. So similarly comes the whole point on analysis. So quickly analyzing the situation and being able to preempt some scenarios and building out holding statements which work for each of those scenarios. And trust me, when you're in a crisis, you may map 5 scenarios and the 6th one happens, which you completely didn't expect. That also happens to us. But be ready. But that is where your monitoring will help you to figure out that, oh, the situation has changed. And how do I now respond? How do I change my strategy? How do I change my approach to address the changing situation? So holding statements in terms of the tone, in terms of the content, getting the facts right, very, very important. And the other thing is, very often we find that, we are in a hurry to fix what is happening in the external world. That's sometimes one of our biggest mistakes. Our employees are our biggest stakeholders and brand ambassadors. How quickly you address your internal stakeholders becomes very important in a crisis, because there could be 10 employees. Now, for example, there's a factory issue There's an issue in a factory in, say, for want of an example, there's a factory issue in Chennai. Now, there were maybe 10 people involved in the factory. They were in the premises, and there was a strike by the union. And there were 20 employees who were outside the factory, not in the premises. And that crisis has happened. Those 20 people are also in Chennai, and they're talking to their friends who are sitting inside the factory, and they are going to be a source of information. Any one of them could be hearing rumors, and they may be also responsible for spreading more and more and more of that information, because trust me, there is something called a grapevine, and that grapevine inside the organization works very, very fast, and how quickly that information can permeate to the external world is not at all funny. So address your employees first. Reach out to inform your teams that this is what has happened. These are the facts. This is what the company is doing to figure out what's happened and what are the next steps. And we are working with the union. We are doing this. So inform your internal stakeholders before you try to put out the fire outside. So that's, in my opinion, the next step, which is to ensure that all your stakeholders are informed internally as well as externally, and you put a set of rules in place. You inform all the internal employees and say, no one can comment or speak to external media, or any kind of external queries cannot be addressed, whether it is queries coming from media, there could be queries coming from the government, there could be queries coming from the police, there could be queries coming from NGOs, like we saw in the Ahmedabad issue. So none of the employees should be authorized, and you should put it in writing and communicate it to employees that no one should address queries. All queries have to be escalated to one point of contact, which could be a communications person, and that person becomes the only authorized person to respond to any kind of queries. So these are some SOPs which become very, very important when we are handling crisis. And my last point there would be, you have to be very, very agile. You have to stay live in a crisis. And sometimes you may not be able to sleep for days, believe me. And that's exactly what you need to be. You have to be always, always present in a crisis, because anything can change, and your entire crisis team, as well as all the people affected, should know that you are available 24/7 at the time of a crisis. People should be able to reach out to you, and you have to be very agile. As I said, situation may change. You may get a call at 12 in the night saying, this has happened, the fire happened, okay, we were dealing with it, but two of the employees have unfortunately succumbed to injuries. So what do you do next? What's your response next? So how quickly and how agility becomes so important in dealing with that changing scenario, because a crisis will never be a flat line. It will have all of the ups and downs, and how prepared you are and how agile you are really matters. And last, there are three things that I always find are very, very important when you're communicating in a crisis. The first is ethics. We are dealing with trust issues. So your job is to ensure that you're transparent and you build trust back in the organization. So that is our first and foremost job. How transparent you seem and how credible you are is what matters. And therefore, it takes me back to getting all your facts right and ensuring that you're able to inform people in a transparent manner about the facts. The second thing is empathy. And I think more so than ever before, today in this COVID scenario we have seen, you need to have empathy. You need to be able to show, all the way from the top management, the leadership, to the last team leader who is in touch with your people, to people who are communicating with the media, empathy in terms of how, how well you address the queries or any kind of concerns that people may have, how you communicate with that, sentiment of empathy. That is very, very critical today. And that to me also defines what the brand really stands for, how human a brand can be, because end of the day we have to make our companies and brands human, and we have to make it very, very, for people to relate to. Why will people listen to you? Because you're talking to them with transparency, you're credible, and you're empathetic to them. The third E there is experience. You have to understand your audience, their behavior, and you create a context in which they will really relate to what you're saying. Now, today, if people are battling with COVID as a crisis, and I get up and say, oh, our engines are powering all these flights, all the aircrafts of the Air Force. We're doing a brilliant job, and you're probably going to think, what is she talking about? Why is she suddenly talking about powering aircrafts of the Air Force? But if I were to tell you that the Air Force is doing a lot of work to help in this time of crisis, and we are also working closely with our partners in the Indian Air Force, because we have Rolls-Royce engines in place. So our teams are working with the Air Force, and they are trying to make sure that these aircrafts are well maintained on a daily basis to be able to be functional when they are going out for delivering supplies, etc. The C-130J, for example, delivers supplies to remote areas. So how are we helping and doing our little bit there? Is how, if I contextualize it, then you understand, oh, this is why she's talking about this message. So creating that context for what you're saying and making it relatable is very, very important. And I think more so in crisis, the 3 E's: ethics, empathy, and experience. Make sure that all three come together in the way that you communicate to address a crisis. So with that, friends, I'm going to, stop and invite any questions that you may have. I hope I didn't overshoot the time too much, unfortunately, because of all the tech glitches. But I'm going to stop there, and back to you all.
Thank you, ma'am. The session is open for interaction. Participants can raise your hand in Teams if you have questions. Please do mention your name and institution.
Kushagrika Marwaha, you can ask your question.
Okay, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for the amazing talk. And I had some questions regarding, so how you gave us a very clear guideline, like how to, how companies manage such crisis. And I had two questions. Mainly, the first one was, what would you consider to be some don'ts? As in, what would you think that this should not be done in time of a crisis? And secondly, how did you deal, like you and what was your approach during this worldwide crisis of the pandemic? It was not just a company crisis, it was like, I guess, everyone was affected by it, the consumers as well. So could you just throw some light on that? Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you for your question. So to answer your first question on the don'ts, I think, to me, honestly, don't work in a silo. Don't take the whole responsibility on your shoulders to solve anything, because even today, in the context of this crisis, all of us leaders, the leadership team at Rolls-Royce also, we come together every day to think about what more can we do for people. Now, if one person were to try and do everything, it doesn't work. So don't act in a silo. Always understand that collaboration is the key to making things happen. And as you study and go through your programs, I'm sure you'll also realize that teamwork is what really makes things happen, and you're able to achieve much bigger targets when you work collaboratively. So don't work in a silo, work in a team always. It works very well to address things. In terms of the crisis, you're absolutely right. It's a worldwide crisis. It's not just a company thing. But as organizations, what is it we can do? The first thing we can do is care about our people. The first thing we can do is make sure that our people are our first topmost priority. Their safety, their well-being is the first thing that we all need to think about, and nothing else comes before that. It's not, we all are living in a world where business has also become very challenging, the environment has become very challenging. But yes, we will achieve business goals eventually. But at this point of time, how important you feel your people are will define how successful your brand will be, how humane you are in dealing with people's problems and suffering. Because honestly, today, let me give you an example. We deal with the media day in and day out. And at this point of time, when we are dealing with media, every media person is facing the same crisis. Either they are not well, or somebody in their family is not well, or they're trying to run here and there to arrange some resources for a friend or a family member or a relative or somebody. So in that kind of a situation, and I'll tell you, if you look up on Twitter, you will see a number of journalists who are bashing companies and saying, stop reaching out to us for random PR stuff, because end of the day, you also have to be sensitive to the fact that the media is also going through the same thing. So how sensitive and empathetic you are to their situation also when you are communicating, that's going to be very key. Now, at a global level, what is it that we are doing? When you look at, the most important thing that you can do is pool in resources, information, and knowledge. Because right from the start of the crisis, we found that very little is known about the virus. You just, so we have a team of health and safety experts who are working globally and in India. And we make sure that all of us come together as a team and we figure out what are the most critical resources of information that can be shared with our people across the globe. So we have created one resource center on COVID, which is a global resource center, which gives you everything from information on precautions to take, information on vaccines, information on, we also have country-wise information. We also share information on physical wellness, because everybody has been working from home. How to set up the workstation in the right way, how to make sure that your body posture is right so that you're not, you don't end up injuring your parts of your body as you work in wrong postures, how to make sure that you are, what kind of exercises you could do while you're at home to ensure that, you feel better, how to take care of mental well-being. We also have set up an employee assistance program, which gives access to people and all employees and their family members to be able to call and connect for a counseling session if they need help with mental well-being. Because at this point of time, we are all stressed. We all need help. And believe me, it helps if you can pick up the phone and talk to somebody and reach out to somebody. And in some cases, what happens is we also need help with reaching out to professional counselors. So that is what we have made available to people, that, with complete confidentiality, you can reach out to the employee assistance program, which will give you access to professional counseling for you as well as for your team, family members. So these are the ways in which we are working, and every week, every day, we continue to be in touch with our India leadership team as well as our global leadership teams, global health and safety experts, our India health and safety experts, to figure out what more can we do, what more can we do to help our people. So that's, I think, like I said, it all goes back to how you realize the power of working together.
Yeah.
Jairam sir,
Yes,
Can
sir.
I take 2 minutes? Because one thing I did not understand, madam. You were talking about one story about that incident happened in your factory. You could have avoided talking to their management. Why you were thinking that he may not report or something? Only when it came for the next day in the big headlines, only you could realize that the damage is done.
No. So we, do you mean that we didn't talk to the management of?
The paper, newspaper.
So, to be honest, we had already informed the editor and we informed the journalist in writing. We also made all the information available. And like I said, you know, I guess when you're dealing with a person who is unrealistic and is not ready to accept the facts, even from credible sources. The journalist told us, and we were talking to him throughout the weekend, and we made all the statements available, we made all the facts available. The journalist said, yes, the police are telling me that only 2 pigeons have died. Yes, the NGO over there is telling me that only 2 people have died, 2 pigeons have died. So, after that, is there more that we could have done? Definitely. We are still we still always think about this as a learning experience, that somewhere we were
At the
clearly
same
working.
time, your damaging statements. You should avoid such. I believe if your management is very serious on that, I think they would have left it at that stage, because normally they don't write any rejoinders in big lines. It will be there in the 8th page or 9th page. I agree with you, but we could have solved that damage control. Because when some people are lying, you could have sued them. I will tell you one incident. The same thing happened. I'm from the power sector of the government. Once one particular problem happened in our project. Some machines were some problem. What had happened? One journalist wrote that it's shivering. They've got a mission from Mitsubishi company from abroad. They have spent a lot of money. It is a waste. They are spending unnecessarily for the machines getting from outside the country. Then I thought, let me take them to the project and show them. Seeing is believing. What had happened? Normally, when we take a set of journalists, our project is near Goa. We take them or also some sightseeing, and to make them happy also, how we work with the journalist normally. And we took them to Goa. What had happened, for some or the other reason, one journalist, he was a little upset because he could not bring his own clothes sufficiently for 2-3 days, and he had given his clothes to some laundry. It was closed on that day. It was entirely his mistake. But what had happened, the funny side, he was little high because we were all in Goa. He called me and told me, Jaram, I will not write your news. Normally we put an embargo for any news story. It should come on same day. And I said, what is our problem? If you want to come, because it was closed on that day, you take my car. We will all go early. You can come leisurely after he opens at 10 o'clock or whatever it is. Then he did not hear. I'll see that it will not come in my paper. You are wrong. You are not taking care of you. I tried my level best to convince him, but he did not, whatever the reason may be. We came back and I reported to my managing director and told them this is what happened. Then he said, I don't want to name it, one of the biggest newspaper reporter. Then he said, don't worry, it is not a local one, a national paper. We are very much interested in local paper. They are the one who makes always a big noise about these kind of things. Then I spoke to the management and I told them this man has behaved like this. What to do? We have put an embargo. He said he will not put the news on that day. And I personally saw that the news has gone to their managing editor, and I saw that it is published on the same day. He was surprised, but later he was suspended for some other reason, not my reason. But when we are not wrong, we must fight. Even we can go to the because you are talking about trust building and your image. That also we will have to see. I'll tell you. Sorry, I'll take one more minute. It may be very informative for the students who are here today. It so happened, in Karnataka, we have three entities. We generate power and transmitted by Karnataka Electricity Board and supplied by the ESCOMs, electricity, to the power public. So it is in 1984 or 85, if I'm right. There were no mobiles at that time and only telephones. You know how telephone works. It was raining heavily on that day. I was fast asleep. I got a call at 12 o'clock in midnight. You are talking about 24/7. I'm just telling your sixth sense must be there always, quick response and all that. You did it so well. I'm really appreciating you. What had happened? I heard the ringing sound and I got up, and one lady was shouting at me without allowing me to talk, Mr. Jairam, because she has taken my name from the big book. Earlier, you used to have telephone directories, so much big, She has taken my name from electricity board. She saw public relations manager. Yes, I'll talk to him for my problem. She had no current on that day. Electricity was not there because heavy rains, current went off. She had a problem. I'll tell you, it is very interesting. And what had happened that day, her daughter's marriage was the next day. These cooks came and they were preparing for the morning breakfast and all that in the midnight. And she, she started banging me. What is this nonsense? Electricity is not there. I am trying all people not getting it. What this your management? All kind of things. She started banging without allowing me to speak. Then I was patiently listening to her. And later I started speaking to her, Madam, you got a wrong person. I am from the generation side and I am nothing to do with this, but I can help you for this problem. I'll give you some of the numbers and kindly speak to them. I know it is raining heavily. Some trees I must have, or something like that, they're actually going around, their van is maybe going around and trying to solve the problem. Anyway, you take this number, talk to them, on executive engineer or somebody. Then I put the phone down. Again, after 10 minutes, I got the call again. I was going to sleep again and I got a call from her. The tone was changed. She started talking to me, sir. I tried all the numbers. I did not get in what to do. This is my problem. I am sorry because I got around, but you are patiently listening. Can you help me at least? Because my problem is such. Tomorrow morning there will be a lot of people coming. Then I said, okay, fine. I'll also talk to the superintendent engineer. If not some director, technical or something, I'll try to solve a problem. But you also speak to me. I gave the number of the managing director of the electricity board. After that, I did not get a call, but I thought it is solved. And when there is no call again, she must have got the electricity or something. See, why I am talking like this? PR people, we should have patience first. And we should know whom we are talking. And their problem is big for them. And they may not be knowing who is who. For everything, electricity board man is a PR man. He can solve the problem. Thereby solving her problem, thereby I got a name for my own company. My image has gone up and I'm helping indirectly to the government as well as Karnataka Electricity Board. And we can avoid when people talk about government, oh, government, they are useless people, they don't work. At least for some extent, we have avoided that kind of response. True. There are some people in the government who can work also. This kind of impression each PR man should bring. My request to all the students, they should have patience, the listening power. You may be wrong, you may be right. That is not the question. We'll have to listen to others and patiently answer them. Whether I'm crying inside, that is different. You don't show your bad, they come with expectations. We will have to, coolly answer them. There you won this thing. This is what I, otherwise you are very excellent, quick response you had. What you said is right. Trust, we are all trust builders for the company. We have to behave in public in such a way, direct contact with the journalist or the media man, whether there is a work or no, but you should have the cordial relations with, then only PR people we can survive in this society. These are the things I just thought that add to your thing. Thank you so much for taking your time.
Very true. Thank you.
We have a question from Sri N.R. Mohanan. Sir, you may ask your question, please.
Good morning, and thank you, madam, for the very impressive talk. Lot of knowledge, lot of things people understand what is the audience. And the role of PR is increasing day by day. We are seeing many companies appointing, TV people. In fact, recently TCS appointed a senior person from media into the PR world. So I would like to know how much freedom you enjoy in your work, because there are a lot of situations in which your views may not be in line with the management. Management, we have some goals, some things, and whatever you communicate, sometimes you may find situations where you have to take a quick decision, as you correctly mentioned. But do you always talk to the senior person and get this concurrence? How much freedom you enjoy, in this role?
Fantastic question. Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't.
How much?
I couldn't hear the last.
How much freedom you enjoy in your role as a PR head?
Got it. Thank you so much. That's a brilliant question. So I believe that just the way we are building trust for the organization, you have to have the trust of your organization and your leadership. So it's about value creation. How do you establish your value? It's like if you're in a new job, you're trying to make sure that people realize that you bring value. And it's the same. You have to be able to be a value creator and to enjoy the trust that you will always do what is right and what is in the best interest of the organization. The second thing is also that you need to be able to showcase your knowledge and experience through your actions. So that is how you build trust with the leadership enough that today when I talk to to the president of our organization and say, we have got this, but I think at this point of time we should not respond to this query and we should go back and say we don't have a comment, and he agrees and he says, I'll go by your judgment, let's do what you're saying. Now that level of trust is only and only built when you are able to show that value and you are credible yourself as a person. So,
Agree.
So I just feel that if you're able to create that value and build that trust, then you will enjoy complete freedom. Because I can tell you, in one of my earliest journeys in PR, I used to work with the BBC, and there was an idea that we had. It was a simple campaign idea. To do some mobile photo contest, and back in the day I think even mobile phones were not so popular. Camera mobile phones were just coming up, but it's about the fact that you wanted to do something to showcase a digital side of BBC, and to do that this was an idea and it required some amount of investment. So how do you, end of the day, you are also, your internal stakeholders are like your clients. So you have to pitch your ideas in the most credible way. You have to have, it's like if you were a business manager of a division, how will you tell the boss that, I need this much money to grow my business, this is how my plan will work, and this is the end result? It's the same way for me as a communicator. When I have a plan or an idea, I will get the freedom to work on it if I can also showcase that this is the logic behind it. These are the insights and data based on which I'm suggesting this creative idea or this campaign idea. And then this is how it will be executed. This is the time frame I'm looking at. And these are the end results that I want to deliver. So that is your business case. And the other last point that I would want to make on this, be very, very closely linked to business. Business goals will define your role also. If you are trying to do something completely, unrelated to the organization and the organization's larger goals, then you will not enjoy that freedom because people will not trust you to be doing the right thing. I do know that today, people are doing social media campaigns because they want to be seen as doing social media campaigns. They will put 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, they will make one video because they think, oh, this is the best video to for my brand. They have made their video, and then they've put 20, 30 lakhs on that video to promote it, and they will go back and say, oh, look at this, I made this video, and look at this, I've got so many views, I've got so much of reach, so many impressions. But is that really value? All you have done is you have pushed money behind a paid ad, and you have shown that you have reached so many people. The real value is, did that message really showcase the exact objective of what you wanted to be seen as saying as a brand? Is that showcasing the ethos of your brand? How is it contributing to the brand? Now, I'll give you an example also. In my role at PepsiCo, we launched a campaign for Quaker Oats, which was called Quaker Feed a Child. Now, to showcase also value back to the business, that doing a purpose campaign like this, wherein we said that we as Quaker will contribute towards feeding children of underprivileged backgrounds through our partnership with NGOs, to show value and to also make sure that people understand. Now, the insight behind it is also that Quaker is a nutrition brand. Oats are a nutrition space player. So therefore, if I will say I'm going to fund education, there's no brand linkage. As a nutrition brand, if I am helping the community to build nutritious meals for children, then that is somewhere going to be linked back to the nutrition brand and the space that Quaker plays in. And for consumers today, we also showed the leadership and the marketing teams that these are the insights. More and more consumers are expecting brands to be responsible, are expecting brands to have a purpose, and that purpose has to be built in a way that it really links very, very closely with your brand. You have to do good work, but do good work in a very, very credible way. So when Quaker Oats feeds children, there is also credibility of nutrition. And at the same time, we also linked it to some business results. We said, let us show you how actually consumers are reacting to purpose behind a brand. So we tied up with Grofers and we ran a campaign with Grofers where we had created a small film. We promoted it saying, and we also did a campaign with them saying that for every pack of Quaker that you buy, we will give one meal to a child. And within that 1 month of running that campaign, we had 5 times the sales that normally they would get on Grover. So there was a very tangible proof that linking purpose to your brand can have very good results because consumers react positively to that purpose. So that's what I would leave you with.
Thank you. I think it's very interesting. Maybe we can continue, but in the interest of time, let me stop. Thank you very much.
We have a question from Sri Ravindran. Sir, you may ask your question.
Yeah, my question is, see, you have nicely covered, the various gamut of crisis management. You also spoke about the important three E's, that is the ethics, empathy, as well as experience. Well, my question is not about the pigeon. My question is more relevant to the student community. In fact, I was expecting this question from the students out here. See, my question is, what are the career opportunities for students, especially who have completed course in management or communication in organizations like Rolls-Royce, or for that matter, PepsiCo, or for that matter, BBC. I think your insights will surely bring more value to Amrita Institute.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I think, today communication, as I said, I think over the last few decades, so many people in the communication industry have been fighting hard to prove value of communications for any organization. So companies like Rolls-Royce, PepsiCo, BBC have all really evolved over the years, and their leaders have evolved over the years to really place very high value on the role of communications in building brand reputation and maintaining and managing brand reputation. So we are brand custodians, and that's a very important role. And I think there is huge scope. Yes, I think not every organization will take entry level recruits in the field of communication. And I'll tell you why, because end of the day, I think when you look at corporate roles, you have a limitation in terms of the number of people that you can hire. So every organization looks to hire a lean team and then be supported by PR agency partners. So therefore, the roles may be fewer and the demands or the qualifications that are demanded may be higher, in terms of saying that, the junior most position in the organization may also be at least 4 to 5 years of experience. But having said that, I think there is immense scope, and we have a lot of companies, a lot of PR agencies. Today, even startups are really understanding that, they need communications. So there is the first and foremost focus for all students should be to learn and gain true knowledge. So it doesn't matter if you're working for a Rolls Royce or a PepsiCo, or and I mean, I've worked with several brands. I worked on the agency side also. So your focus should be for many years. Even today, when I am offered a role, I look at, okay, I bring certain amount of experience and knowledge, and I will definitely, in this role, I'll have an opportunity to apply that knowledge and experience. But what else will I gain? What else will I have an opportunity to learn? My own stint at PepsiCo was an opportunity for me to do a lot more of hands-on social media work and digital campaigns. And that to me was very, very critical in terms of gaining that hands-on experience. And so I feel that, we have to be learning every day. Learning is never ending. But more so for students when you're starting out. Please don't be focused on what is the salary, what is the role, what is the designation. It doesn't matter. What will I learn is the question you should be asking. So for the first few years, definitely look at gaining knowledge. And I think eventually you may also realize that you need to also focus on figuring out what are your strengths and weaknesses, what are the opportunity areas where you need to build on your knowledge. So for example, for me, I felt that we were really evolving in terms of our understanding of social media. But for me, it was very important to really hone that knowledge and make it much more stronger as a professional in communications. Therefore, I took the role at PepsiCo to gain that kind of experience. So while I was leading corporate reputation, I was leading crisis at a national level, I was leading brand communication. But what I gained was the rich experience. And to be very honest, I learned from my juniors. I learned from a team member who had very strong knowledge of social media and digital communications. And I used to, when I would devise a campaign plan, I would go and ask him, what do you think about this idea? This is how I'm going to execute. What do you think about it? Do you think it will work? What else do you think I could do for this? So I think be ready to, don't have an ego, be open to learning, and the sky will be the limit. I mean, roles like Rolls Royce and PepsiCo will come your way when you have that knowledge and that experience.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I just wanted to give a very small input. That the previous question was asked by Sri N.R. Mohanan, and Mohanan sir is currently heading the operations of our corporate and industrial relations of Amrita University at Kochi. He had been with
Thank you.
TCS for more than 17 years.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving me that opportunity to, address what I hope has been useful to the students, and very pertinent question.
It was really good.
Thank you.
He was also asking some questions, internal problems regarding any hierarchical problem for PR people. Am I right, Mr. Mohan?
Yes, I think very much.
It is there everywhere. It is there everywhere in either private or public, any sectors. It is there. That is how you manage. You have to bring some confidence in the management. Management, any problem, you have to make them to come to the PR department and ask certain issues, to be solved. That's how we have to manage. There is no other go. It is
Mohan
there.
sir, I'm sure you would probably already have that kind of rich experience, that across whatever function that you lead, there will always be, there could be issues, and these are also led by organizational culture issues. It could be personality issues. But end of the day, like I said, I mean, if you can build trust with every stakeholder, then they should be comfortable that when there is an issue, are you the point of contact? Will they reach out to you? I think that becomes your measure of success, maybe.
Ma'am.
I think the foundation of the trust and trust is the transparency and credibility, and also the empathy, the love and the empathy. Yeah, I think that's what our experience is.
Thank you, Dr. Krishna Kumar. In fact, I really appreciated what you were saying about how you have managed to make the whole campus very, very safe for students, and how you have been able to maintain that by ensuring that the correct scientific guidelines are followed and communicated to everybody, including not just the students, but also reaching out to their parents to ensure that everybody understands. I thought that was a very, very good example of, how
it's an example of transparency and credibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's correct.
Yeah, she also mentioned one good thing I remember. We have to excel from others. You are all in all, and you take example of your Tendulkar or anyone. They have mastered in their own batting or their style or anything. But whereas a PR man, he's like Chanakya. He should know at least ABCD of everything. He has.
Jack of all trades.
Very important for the PR people, and for your knowledge, PRCI has started this one academic course for this. What do you call accreditation for PR personnel? Those who have completed 5 years, we have one particular course, and we'll be giving one degree. It is in USA, France, and Canada. They have one PRS, that is like your IAS degree. See, after certain year, whatever what you are today is very important for us. So that kind of knowledge we are giving through this course. Every 5 years you have to take that course from PRCI, that will give a accreditation, the PR some degree we are giving. It is actually online. We will come in action only after this pandemic is over. There will be an exam for all PRs people, and they will after passing that, we'll give that kind of accreditation for them. Then they should once they have that, people should remember, oh, this guy we can hire for our company. He is ready for certain things. You are excelling from others. That's what we are trying to do. That will come soon. PRCI is on it. Our rules and regulations is already ready, and only thing we have to implement it. Maybe after this pandemic, you will learn about that.
On that note, I can only hope that we see the end of this pandemic soon.
Yeah, yes.
And honestly, I think great work being done by PRCI and Amrita University also, and the YCC. I think I just can only congratulate you for this inaugural, and also wish you all the best, and all the best to all the students as well, to stay safe and to excel in whatever you choose to do. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ma'am, we are already running short of time, and we have a few two more questions. Is it okay to continue with the questions, ma'am?
Okay, the last two then.
Okay. We had a question from the chat box. I will read it out.
Sure.
It's from Vinod Lakshman. He's asking for some lights on search engine optimization and PR communication.
Okay. So, search engine optimization and also ORM. These are two things which I find are very, very important tools in terms of reputation management. Because especially if you're working in a business like FMCG, where products are being consumed by masses, you have to have a mechanism for the right kind of messages and queries to be addressed in the right way. So investing in ORM machinery in terms of responses, how quickly you respond to consumer queries. I mean, even at PepsiCo, we had an entire team for online queries, etc. And their measure of success was in how quickly they responded, what was the response time, and how well they addressed those queries. So the kind of extensive work that was done with the scientific research team, the R&D team, the product team, to ensure that they had answers to every single question that may come from consumers. It was very, very critical. And SEO in particular, I must tell you that I'll give you an example. There was so much of noise going around about Kurkure, saying Kurkure has plastic. So one of the campaigns which we did was to really work on, putting out myths versus facts about Kurkure and plastic. So for that particular exercise, while we did a lot of work, to really get online influencers, and we did work with some quirky ones as well. We focused firstly also on the areas where Kurkure was sold most, and we looked at what will work with that audience. And one of the things that we used there again, and which really helped, was SEO. Now, search engine optimization, what it does is, when somebody is looking at a WhatsApp message that says, don't have Kurkure, there's plastic in Kurkure, they're going to search. At some point of time, they will come across Kurkure and plastic on their search. Now, if you can work on that optimization to ensure that that search is leading the consumer to a video that you have put out with a credible source, there are some myth busting websites which are very, very popular and credible. So we worked with some of them also, and we ensured that when consumers searched for Kurkure and plastic, it led them to that myth busting website and a video which showed that why, scientifically speaking, this is why Kurkure burns. When you burn Kurkure, why it gives out that kind of liquid thing, because of the corn starch which is present in Kurkure. So we made it very scientific, and we ensured that people had those facts. We also tried to create some infographics on WhatsApp. We did some popular influencers who did some funny videos about, oh my God, why do you, who told you Kurkure has plastic? So we made a funny take also. So, SEO actually had a very, very important role, because end of the day, even when today on COVID, if you are, if somebody tells you there are worms in the mask, you will Google to check, okay, what's going, is this true? So if that search leads you to the right kind of information, then you are empowering the consumer with the correct facts. So that's for me a very, very important tool for communication.
We have the last question from Aarti Jairam.
Yes, Aarti.
Hello, Aarti Jairam, you may ask your question.
Hello, sir. Are you able to hear me?
Yes. Yes. Go on.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ma'am. It was a really nice way in which you explained about the purpose and the purpose branding. I'm a research scholar from Chennai. I wanted to know a particular thing, ma'am. Have you revamped your branding strategies that you are looking forward in this current COVID times? Has your company made an effort to do better or to reach out to your customers or to your stakeholders? Any particular branding strategies in particular? If you can quote an example and speak to us about it, it will be really useful, ma'am.
See, if I talk about Rolls
I
Royce,
actually wanted to understand about this current COVID scenario, if you have revamped anything, ma'am, related to that. Thank you.
See, at Rolls Royce, we are a niche organization. We work in the aerospace and defense sector. So, a lot of the work we do is in B2B or G2G kind of spaces. So, anyway, a lot of the work that we've been doing is very niche and very targeted. And in this COVID scenario, I think what has changed, um, in fact, what has changed over the last, I would say, year and a half is that one, there has been greater focus on internal communications. We are doing much more internally than we ever did before. And for that, we are working with all our internal stakeholders to roll out communication that really, really tells people that we care. And we are here, and Rolls Royce is here to support. The second thing, when we talk about external, again, I think one of the big shifts is the context in which we talk. Now, Rolls Royce has been a leader in aerospace and defense for many decades now. The company has been in India for over 87 years and has been partnering with the Indian Air Force, Navy, etc. And we have a lot of um, great products in this market. We also have a power systems business. So for us, I think, the media looks at us as thought leaders. But as thought leaders, what has changed for us in the way we communicate is to contextualize our communication to talk about how the world is changing because of this pandemic. What are the economic implications? How does it impact our sector in particular? You would all know that aerospace has been greatly hit by this pandemic. And once again, with the new wave of the pandemic, we are again looking at travel bans, different countries posing different kind of bans. So I think what has changed is we as communicators have to really analyze the environment that we are playing in as a business. So understand the changes in the dynamic external environment, all the factors which are at play. You have to be able to join those dots to say, this is how the environment is changing, and this is how Rolls Royce continues to be relevant even in this changing business scenario. So we have had to reposition ourselves, and we have had to reposition ourselves in terms of what role can Rolls Royce play towards building an Atmanirbhar Bharat. How can we support the vision of the country on self-reliance? And as the country looks at coming out of the pandemic, what role can Rolls Royce play, and what are the areas in which we can be relevant? And so we have repositioned our communication to contextualize that and then talk to our audience. So that is the shift.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful words
Thank you
of
so
wisdom
much,
and
ma'am,
experience.
for your for being so.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your giving good answer for this. Thank you so much, ma'am. This is really helpful.
If anyone have any further queries, you may post it on the chat box and we will try to communicate that to Gayathri, ma'am.
Sure, that would be great. I will come back to you offline.
You should post your queries with your mail IDs also. And as thank you, ma'am. And as the next item in the agenda, may I introduce the members of our chapter, YCC local chapter.
Thank you very much. I will take your leave, and thank you all for having me. It was a great pleasure and a great privilege to be with you all. And
Thank
wish
you.
you all the best once
Thank
again.
you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So I will introduce the members of our YCC campus chapter. We have Sudars Sudhagaran of second semester post-graduation communication course as the president of our chapter.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sudars. Okay. And as the vice president, we have Mariam Tangam Mohan.
Hello.
Good luck.
And we have as the secretary Kushagrika Marwaha. She is doing her BSc in visual media in our campus. Then another one from the BSc.
Please show up your face. This can see.
So
She's
my
online.
camera is on.
She's online, sir.
Okay.
Okay. And as the joint secretary of the chapter, we have Arju Sundar. She has just joined the campus and she's a first year student.
Gotcha.
Namaskar.
Oh, good.
And as the treasurer, we have Neelanjana K. She's doing her MA in visual communication. And as the members of the executive council, we have Navaneet Krishnan V.
Namaskar, sir.
Gayatri Surendran.
Sir.
And Sivadatta R. And officially, they are on from today itself.
Gotcha.
They have.
Very good. I just have one word to you. We have one magazine specially for YCC. This is called Kautilya. Kautilya magazine, which we are bringing every once in 3 months. We need articles from all the students. You have to write for the magazine. The editor of the magazine is Mr. Ramendra Kumar, who was earlier chief of PR in Rourkela steel plant. Now he is shifted to Bangalore after retirement, and he will be the editor of that magazine. Whatever your extracurricular activities, it will come through that Kautilya. We have two magazines. One is Chanakya for PRCI and one is YCC for you people. You have to show your talents. Kindly write for the, send it directly to him. Either Avinash is there now. Avinash will tell you about how to send it. You have a separate email for that. You can send it directly to either your National Council Madam Chinmayi or Avinash or somebody who is taking editor. But kindly see that you will contribute something from your chapter. Wish you all the best. The rest of the things you will hear from Mr. Avinash if he is there.
Thank you, sir. Hello. And I would request Sudhars to guide us through the rest of the agenda.
Now it's time for felicitations. I'd like to invite Sri U.S. Kuti, who is the Secretary General of the Public Relations Council of India. He has a career experience spanning 4 decades in advertising, PR, and branding. He began his career as a media planner in 1980 at Saubhagya Advertising Services, Mumbai, which was the beginning of a 36-year association. In 1991, he moved to Kochi to head Saubhagya's Kerala operations. During his illustrious career, he organized more than 800 press conferences besides managing advertising for 48 IPOs. Besides these, he managed advertising and PR for several investment programs by the government of Kerala, including the Global Investor Meet, Emerging Kerala, Young Entrepreneurs Summit, and Global Agro Meet. He is one of the founders of the Advertising Club Kochi and a trustee of the prestigious Pepper Awards. We invite you, sir, for felicitation.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, respected Jairamji, our National President, Dr. Vinay, our Senior Vice President, Mr. Ravi, and our Chapter Chairman, Kerala Chapter Chairman, Mr. Ram, and also the HOD and all the Amrita College students and all the official bearers. Thank you so much. It was a very happiest occasion, and also a special thanks to Gayatri. When I called her, I immediately accepted, and she has able to give because the two hours she has spent. So she left, but anyway, I'll just talk to her and I'll say my special thanks to her. It was a wonderful speech. I think the 3C and the 3E, which she has mentioned, will definitely going to help all the students in mass communication and the journalism students. So I wish all the office bearers of Amrita Institute all the success, and also we will give all the support. Also, we may have some kind of a workshop. We have workshop in near future after the pandemic is over. We can get some good speakers and we will have a half day or 1 day sessions that we will assure. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Next, I invite Sri G.P. Sadashivan.
Is GB online?
I don't think he is here.
Let's move on.
Next, I'll be inviting Dr. Dinesh Babu. Currently serves as the head of the Department of Visual Media and Communication, School of Arts and Sciences, Kochi. I welcome you, sir, to address the gathering.
A very good afternoon. I take this auspicious occasion to thank Mr. Raman and Chairman PRCI Kerala Chapter for giving us an opportunity and support to launch YCC in our campus. We are so grateful to Dr. U. Krishna Kumar, Director and Dean, Faculty of Arts, Media and Commerce for mentorship and guidance for the academic growth of the department. I would thank Ms. Gayatri Sharma for inspiring session which provided new insights regarding PR. Our students, I have to just give out a glimpse of our department. Our students got a great chance to exhibit their work in UNESCO's Youth Skill Development Youth Skill Day on June 2020. We collaborate with the Google News Initiative from 2019 for giving sessions on misinformation tackling. Our department also collaborate with the government organizations like Kerala State Civil Supply Corporation, Supplico, Suchitwa Mission, Kochi Corporation, Naval Base Kochi in several aspects. Our students also won several international awards in various national and international film festivals for the video projects. Now we look forward to further the collaboration with PRC for molding our students as per the industrial needs and further development of the department. I wish everyone and make this particular chapter to be more success. Thank you one and all. Namaskar.
Thank you, Dinesh sir. Next, I'd like to welcome Rekha ma'am, who's the faculty coordinator of YCC chapter ASAS Kochi. She currently serves as assistant professor in the Department of Visual Media and Communication. Ma'am, I invite you to deliver the vote of thanks.
Namaskar and a very good afternoon all. It's an honor to have been asked to offer a vote of thanks on the occasion of the inauguration of Public Relations Council of India, Young Communicators Club, Kochi campus chapter in our college. Actually, no event can be successful without people who dedicate their resources and time to make sure everything is faultless. So we have been fortunate enough to be guided by our director, Dr. Yo Krishna Kumar. You have been a constant support and given us a lot of encouragement, sir. First of all, I am extending my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Yo Krishna Kumar for inspiring us at every moment, every point of time in our college. Thank you, sir. On behalf of our college and the entire management group here, I am extending my hearty gratitude to Sri Ramsi Menon, Chairman, PRCI Kerala Chapter, for initiating such an opportunity to us, sharing your graceful words with us today. Thank you, sir. I would like to extend our generous thanks to Sri MP Jairam, Chairman, Emeritus, and Chief Mentor, PRCI, for inaugurating the event and his appreciating involvement and well-motivated speech. Thank you, sir. I would like to express our profound gratitude to Dr. T. Vinay Kumar, National President, PRCI, for the thought-provoking address. Thank you, sir. I am extending my sincere thanks to Sri K. Ravindran, Sir National Senior Vice President, PRCI, for introducing us to various activities of PRCI YCC. Thank you, sir. And I would like to thank our distinguished keynote speaker, Ms. Gayatri Sharma, Mrs. Gayatri Sharma, Head of Communications, India and South Asia, Rolls-Royce. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence, ma'am. I'm pretty sure that all the points or your precious knowledge on PR in the time of crisis that Gayatri ma'am shared us will definitely help us in our studies and in future. Thank you, ma'am. Though she is not here, thank you. It is my pleasure to thank Sri V.S. Kuti, National Secretary General PRCI, for sharing with us your graceful thoughts. Thank you, sir. I sincerely thank the faculty and student coordinators of PRCI YCC Kerala Campus Chapter from other colleges in Kochi for being part of this event. Thank you all. Last but not least, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. S. Dinesh Babu, the Power Pact HOD of our department, the Department of Visual Media and Communication, Sri D. Harishran, the really motivating Vice Chairperson of the Department of Visual Media and Communication, and all our student members of YCCA Campus Chapter. Thank you. We are really grateful to all the people who helped us, especially the ICTS team, to make the online event successful. Last but not least, thanking you all the student participants and my dear colleagues for attending the event. I am sure that our college will continue to get significant provision from the diverse groups in the future. Thank you all. Nam Shivaya.
Thank you, ma'am. That brings us to the end of the session. We'll conclude with Shanti Mantra.
Om Shri Guru Namah Harihi Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Shri Guru Namah Harihi Om